Today we're going to talk numbers, and that is exactly how to break down your exhibiting marketing campaign, as well as any other marketing campaign, with the numbers. So the first thing that we're going to start off with is a revenue goal. And in this instance, I'm going to make a fictional company called the ADAS Guys, right? And the ADAS Guys are selling a kit for £17,000. They've got an offer with boards, training, etc. And their goal for this exhibition is £250,000. So when we have the numbers like this, they're quite clear that what we need to do is we need to share the amount of kits that we could sell into 250,000. So we're going to do that, which would mean that we need a total of 15 customers. So I know that 15 customers can seem easy when it comes to, okay, well, that's only 15 people. However, the next thing that we want to do is go all the way back to the initial conversation. And that is exactly what we're going to outline in this video. So when it comes to setting revenue goals and setting numbers, what is really important is not only that it's achievable, but that we also understand exactly how to achieve it. And what happens with a lot of marketing campaigns is that we can have an instant where we have something like that, oh, we only need 15 customers. But if we don't understand exactly how to get those 15 customers or what the expectation of a conversion rate at each stage is, and I know that this can sound like a lot of jargon, but it essentially means that you can't review it live. So for example, if I had nine sales guys, and these sales guys all thought accumulating we are going to get 15 customers, easy as pie. What they don't know is how many conversations do we need to have, how many of them are going to be sales qualified leads, how many of them are going to book a demo, and then how many are going to turn into sales. Now, it could be that this number is way higher than you actually estimate. And when that happens, we can't actually finger on pulse understand where we are in the sales funnel at that time. The reason that this is so important is that while you're at an exhibition, it's not like looking at a marketing campaign where you can see the numbers live and you have how much it's costing you per lead, what your average engagement rate is, etc., how many people are actually purchasing. You're kind of going based on your gut. And when you go based on your gut, it means that you can walk away without results. So it's really important that when it comes to this, we have all of the data and all of the numbers, and that's exactly what we're about to break down. So in this instance, the ADAS guys are sales call pros. So they are going to break down the number of sales calls needed. Now, when it comes to a sales call, the ADAS guys already know that they have a 30% conversion rate on those sales calls. If you don't know the conversion rate for your sales calls or for the demos that you have, etc., make one up and put it as your target. Just don't make it too high. So in this instance, they already knew based on their CRM data, which you can get typically with inside V8 CRM, for example, you will have a pipeline and it will tell you what your conversion rate is for each stage in that pipeline. So if you have Salesforce, HubSpot, etc., it should do that for you. And then you can figure out what your conversion rate is. If you do not have a CRM, then the recommendation would be, okay, well, of all the calls that I know that I've had, just check your calendar, how many actually turned into sales, and that'll allow you to also get your conversion rate. Again, if you have no data whatsoever, check the industry average and pop that down as a target. So because we know that the conversion rate for the sales guys is 30%, then what we want to do is the 15 customers that we need to get, we're going to share that by 0.3 so that we can get the percentage. So that means to get 15 customers from our sales calls at 30%, we're going to need 50 sales calls. So of 50 sales calls, that will get us 15 customers if we have a 30% conversion rate. Now, a fair warning is that as we go through this funnel, the numbers do get progressively higher. So the next thing that we are going to look at is not the sales calls, but actually the interested leads needed. So not everybody that says, I really like this, I want the equipment, actually is that interested. So a lot of it can be we're climbing up the wrong tree. So we need to know how many interested leads we need in order to convert into a sales call. So we know that we need 50 sales calls. Now we also know that the ADAS Guys CRM says that their conversion rate from an interested lead, and this is a lead that has physically put their hand up and said, I want this, is 80%. So a very high conversion rate of leads that actually go to a call. One thing I do want to actually preface here is that you may have no-shows to calls, but we're not putting that in these numbers. We're going to do it based on the fact that they do show up to the call, and that is the conversion rate that we're going for. If you did want to add in no-shows, then that could be a discrepancy that you put in. So we know that they have 80% of leads actually go to a sales call. So again, we're going to divide 50 by 0.8 so that we get the amount that is 80%. Okay, so when we do that, we know that it is 63 because we've rounded up. So 63 people or 63 interested leads are needed so that we can get onto 50 sales calls. Now, in order to get interested leads, first they need to be qualified. So as we have mentioned in a few of the videos that we have done here, is that you will have your hot, your warm, and your cold leads. Usually you may have a marketing qualified lead, a sales qualified lead. However you qualify your leads, that could be that they're a garage owner, independent garage owner with X amount of sites. It could be that they're a body shop, etc. How do we qualify those leads? So we need to know what percentage of qualified leads turn into interested leads. And for our ADAS guys, we know that that is 70% of qualified leads turn into interested leads. Now, this for me seems high, but since we're following the example, but if yours isn't around the 70% mark, that's completely okay. Just check your CRM and again, check all of the information that you have in your calendar, etc., as to how many qualified leads then turn into an interested lead. So we know now that for one in 7 actually go for this offering. So again, what we need to do is the 63 interested leads that we had previously, we then want to share this by 0.7, and then that is going to get us the answer of 90 sales qualified leads are needed in order to get the amount of customers that we want, which is 15 if we work it all the way back. Now, the final step is we have the conversations that we're going to have on the day. How many total conversations are needed in order to get to our end result? Now, it could be that 80% of the people that you talk to do not want your stuff. And in the ADAS guys' case, that is what they found at exhibitions, is that 80% actually are not interested whatsoever. So when it comes to an exhibition, it could be that 80% of the audience is not qualified or interested whatsoever. And in the ADAS guys' experience, that is what they have found. So what we are going to do is, again, we're going to take the last number that we had, which is 90 qualified leads, and we are then going to share that by the 20% that are actual qualified leads conversations that they have on the day. So that is going to get us to 450. So during the exhibition, the ADAS guys are going to need to have 450 conversations so that they can have 15 sales. Now, when we look at this 15 number, it can seem very easy. It can seem like a walk in the park. However, when we look at the fact that we actually need 450 conversations to go through, then it can get a bit more intense. So that this number doesn't overwhelm, the important thing that you'd want to do is then do a team breakdown. So when it comes to the ADAS guys, they have 9 people at the stand. And what you're going to want to do when you are breaking down the team is give them their individual numbers so that it doesn't seem as overwhelming. And so it also means that while they're at the exhibition, they can say, oh, okay, I've actually only got this many conversations logged, or it's midday and I know that I have X amount of customers to convert before the end of the day. This just allows each person to have their own accountability so that you're actually moving towards. What you don't want is to have a disproportionate team, right? Where one person is doing the majority of the legwork, everybody else is kind of sitting back, and this person's having to have those 450 conversations while everybody else is just dilly-dallying. So it's important that we keep everybody equal and that 9 staff then have their individual numbers. So this is how we would do that. So based on the numbers that we have, we know that we have 9 staff members. So what we want to do is those 450 conversations, we're going to want to share that by the 9 people that we have on the stand. And that is going to be 50 conversations each over 3 days. So that means that they have the target. So those 50 conversations over 3 days would mean that they need 17 conversations per day per person. And at a show like Automechanica, that does not seem too unreasonable at all. So we need 50 conversations each over 3 days. That gives us 17 conversations per day per person. The next thing that we want to do is bullet point each of those numbers per person so that they kind of have their finger on the pulse. So what we want to do is break it down simply. So we want 50 conversations over 3 days. Of which we know that 10 are qualified. It could be, completely as an example, that, for example, you have Motivate now at Automechanica. That could mean that a lot more apprentices are coming to the stand, which is great for the industry, of course, we want to recruit, but it could be that 50% of these conversations, or 50 of those conversations, you may need to have more. Maybe it could be 75 conversations, because that variable of having more apprentices on the stand has actually tweaked the amount of conversations that you've had, because you could be having them with people that are not qualified. So it's important, just as much as we are doing the 50 conversations, that then we are tracking, are these qualified? And it should be that for every 50 you get 10 qualified conversations. Once we know our qualified conversations, which was 20%, we then go to the 7 that say that they are interested. So we said that 1 in 7 would actually then move forward. So we said that 1 in 7 would actually move forward. So that is our 70% there, of which 5 book a call, which is our 80%. And then 1.5 actually buy, based on dividing it by 9 staff. However, you could put 2 since you're not going to sell half people, but it would mean that you have 25,500 in revenue targets per person. So the numbers that I have here is exactly how you'd want to break it down by staff. Now, you can also do the team totals, which we can review really quick. However, what you're going to notice is that by giving people accountability, not only can they kind of skip it, which is that, okay, for every 50 conversations, I know that I either need 5 calls booked or I need to have sold 2 people, right? So I need to sell 2 people by the end of the day. I need to get 5 calls booked in. So what this allows us to do is, when we're given accountability, it means that everybody kind of has their own direction. It means that marketing isn't doing different to sales, etc., or whatever roles that you've played on the day. When you're splitting it up by the people accountable and giving them their individual results, it makes that equal playing field, and that's essentially what we want here when it comes to the stats. So I will quickly just review the overall numbers with you so that you can do it yourself, and that is going to be the final number breakdown. So let's just review this quickly. So let's just review this quickly for the ADAS guys. Obviously, again, like I said, these fictional guys have all of their fictional numbers to hand. You may need to do some digging for that. However, it should all be in your CRM. If you do not have a CRM, then reach out to us about V8 CRM and we would love to give you a free trial. So when it comes to the ADAS guys, they need 450 total conversations. And how did we get to that? Well, first off, we know that they need 90 qualified leads. That then were from 60. Of those 95 leads, we know that it goes into 63 that are interested. From there, we have 50 sales calls. And then that will equate to 15 customers in total, which will give us our revenue target of £255,000. So in this specific example, we have the total conversations, qualified leads, then goes into interest. They then book sales calls. You guys could do demos, whatever you fancy, and then that would go into customers. So that will give us our total revenue breakdown. You can break down every single marketing campaign like this as long as you know each stage to each campaign. So for example, you could do it with an ads campaign, with a social media campaign. The reason that you want to break it down like this is that you know then at each stage where you can tweak so that you can adjust to make sure that you do hit that target. If, for example, I didn't know that I had to have that amount of conversations and I focused on this 15 number, maybe I only had 15 conversations because I believe that every single customer wants our product. It's really important to break down the numbers, and when we work them backwards and we go as granular as we possibly can, it means that we can set expectations that are not unrealistic and we don't overwhelm our team with a random target objective. I hope that this has helped. If you have any questions at all, feel free to either message me on LinkedIn or visit our website for more information. Thank you so much.